Friends are pretty cool, in my humble opinion. Simply by being a human being and existing, you automatically have a lifetime subscription to the system of socialization. And an unfortunate byproduct of said system is the concept of friendship. A true good friendship is like a well-made group project, or maybe communism. Wait, no, that doesn't. I should cut that out. If you're a well-adjusted human, chances are you have had friends before, or you have friends now. This video is gonna explain why good friendships kind of exist. My words today are going to be loosely rooted in actual real knowledge, but unfortunately I'm gonna be riddling it with misinformation, but I'll also be taking from my personal experience. That being said, to be honest, I am kind of socially inept a little bit.
No, bitch.
I used to be very awkward and weird, and I still kind of am, but you know what? I have friends, and we're all happy, so I'm clearly doing something right. Some things to think about before we jump right into it. Number one, I'm not a real social psychologist, believe it or not. However, topics like this fascinate me, and I have an urge deep in my balls that makes me want to share shit that I learned. So please take everything I say with a grain of salt, or maybe a lot of salt. You might need a lot of salt. That might be better. Number two, friendships are different for everybody, but even something with no set formula still has some common themes. These themes, by the way, are not exclusive to female or male friendships. If we want to talk about gender-based hierarchies, that's a whole nother conversation, and that conversation has a lot more to do with lobsters than communism. I really should stop making that joke. Oh, by the way, guys, I would also like to thank you all for the recent Viagra growth on the channel. You guys fucking broke the Geneva Conventions and smashed that button last video. It exceeded my expectations. I'm really thankful for it. And okay, first we're gonna talk about reciprocity in friendships. Reciprocity is a concept which is pretty essential, in my opinion. Every social dynamic ever has reciprocity in some form, or the idea of reciprocation, which is the idea of giving and receiving. In any social dynamic, whether that be friendships, relationship, workplace dynamic, parent-child dynamic, other dynamics, there is a level of reciprocity involved. The giving and receiving could mean a lot of things, from emotional support, education, gifts, other things. Basically something that fulfills some kind of need. This differs depending on the type of relationship. When we're talking about reciprocity in friendships, we're almost always talking about reciprocity that is mutually beneficial. What this means is that in a friendship, generally you are expected to give as much as the other person, as opposed to something like an employer-subordinate relationship, where obviously there's a drastic power imbalance. A common example of good reciprocity in a friendship is reciprocal self-disclosure. That refers to when you share information about yourself with someone else. Reciprocity would mean that when you are sharing a story, a friend could reciprocate by sharing a story of similar weight. Good reciprocity would be like, oh, I went on a trip to Korea last summer. Oh, cool, I went on a trip to Japan last summer. Bad reciprocity would look like, shit, dude, my dog got killed by an orangutan. Oh, cool, I went on a trip to Japan. That is, of course, an extreme example, and only something you should say if you're looking for a slap in the face. So don't do that. Now, on the note of reciprocation, nobody is obligated to reciprocate. Just because someone offers you weed does not mean you have to accept it. Maybe you prefer psychedelics or anime. We all have different types of friends, that's my point. From my personal experience, I enjoy being friends with passionate people with open minds that I can also banter with. I like being able to share cool shit. I'm not gonna stand here and list a bunch of different types since it's not really concrete science, at least to me. But my point is that you won't reciprocate the same way or even the same amount to, say, a friend you just met compared to someone you might as well share blood and cum with. I, for one, have friends in college and they're chill and all, but I have a lot more levels with my fellas at home. On the flip side, you are also not entitled to someone's reciprocation. So don't cry and shit and cum if someone is not responding to you the way you imagine in your head. Okay, next is an important point that is the basis for the whole fucking video. Friendship is inherently a selfless thing. You cannot have friendship if there's too much selfishness involved. That is just a fact. That's how it works. Selfishness can be good, yes, but everything in moderation. You give as much as you take. Hence, reciprocity. Okay, now take all of that shit that I just said and then fold it up into a neat little square and then put it in your back pocket or eat it or something. Just keep it somewhere. You're gonna need it later. Okay, now let's unpack the big pillars of friendship. Number one is emotional support. This is obviously a big one. Emotional need is one of the most prominent, if not the most prominent reasons why people want friends in the first place. Emotional support can mean a lot of things, like mutual encouragement, just support in general, creating a climate in which everyone feels valued, humor, but generally it means just like understanding a person's emotions and then reacting to them accordingly, depending on whatever the fuck. I don't know, man. I'm not a psychologist. Emotional support almost always involves being kind and considerate and not an asshole. The need to share your emotions is a very uniquely human thing that we have to deal with, and you know, life is sometimes a bitch, and then it sucks if you don't have someone else to go through it with. And it's also nice, like, if you're excited about something and you just want to share it with your friends, like, that's also emotional support, I think. And you know, that's what friends are for sometimes. 2, mutual trust. Trust is quite literally the foundation upon which all relationships, or most relationships, are built. Probably, I don't know, all of them? I don't know. Because trust is what opens the... Are you fucking sleeping again? Because trust is what opens the door to mutually beneficial reciprocation in the first place. Without trust, you cannot have a friendship, literally. I don't know a whole lot about friendship, but that is one thing that I know 1 billion% to be true. Nobody wants to be friends with someone who lies, unless you are delusional, or a politician. Also, lying fucking sucks, dude. It's just, try to avoid it as much as possible for everything, unless of course you're leaking classified government documents or something. I think it's a lot easier to tell the truth than it is to lie. Whenever I lie, I also get this like little tingly feeling in like my balls, like there's a hamster trying to escape. Reason 3, tangible reciprocity. By this, I just mean doing shit to just keep the friendship afloat. Quality time, gifts, and acts of service fall under this category. If that sounds familiar, it's because I ripped it from the, whatever the love languages or whatever it is. And you know, the 5 love languages is something that I think applies to most friendships in general. I don't know about physical touch though, at least me personally. I don't spend too much time having hot platonic sex with my homies. But maybe you do, I don't judge. Alright, now we're gonna talk about the opposite side of the coin. The hemorrhoid on the other cheek, the dick in the other ass. Things that can cause problems in friendships. I'm also gonna talk about how you yourself can avoid being a less favorable friend. Now, there are a good amount of things that someone can do right, but there are almost unlimited things that a person can do wrong. It's like cooking a food. The end results are good, but you know what? There's so many things that could go wrong, like cutting off your sausage on accident, or maybe getting one of the ingredients stuck in an M&M tube filled with banana. The traits of a bad friendship will, unlike the traits of a good friendship, be a lot more selfish. Now, I want to say something that's kind of important. These traits are inherently negative, but the person might not be ill-intentioned when they do those things. Like, this doesn't make it okay, but it might just mean that that person is maybe a little bit... Maybe that person just hasn't learned that yet. I don't know, man. Like, everyone's a little bit socially inept. Nobody is perfect. And, you know, some people just need to learn. Like, they're not always evil people. I believe that people want to be kind people as opposed to being assholes. This isn't just wishful thinking. I think it's because our society, oh god, our society has shaped itself in this beautiful way that makes being a good person preferable over being an asshole. Why? Because if you're a bad person, you get shunned by society and they put you in a little box or something. I don't know. By the way, I'm probably gonna miss some shit, all right? I don't try all my videos. I don't know if it's clear or not. So don't listen to anything I say. Just give me watch time. Shit. Trait 1, emotional manipulation. This can mean a broad range of things, but I'm sure I don't have to explain too much. Lying. Personally for me, this one is especially a pet peeve. It pisses me off and makes me... Emotional bullying, extortion, basically everything in the CIA psychological torture handbook. I don't have a lot to say here. Another trait 2, bad influence. Bad influence is kind of easy to spot so long as you are a good human being who has a good set of morals. It's because the results of bad influence are almost always shit, and it's hard to make a case for a pile of shit. For instance, they might convince you that it is okay to set fire to a porta potty next to a government building on July 15, 2003, when in reality it's not. Or maybe saying that you will never win at gambling and discouraging you, and that gambling is bad for you, when in reality 99% of discouraged gamblers stop edging right before they come. Narcissists kinda suck, to be honest. Again, there's not much to say. I'm sure we all have met a narcissist before. It's exhausting to hear them talk. They tend to place themselves up on a pedestal and put you down on one. I think maybe narcissists also like to make things competition. I think confidence and pride are good to have, again, in moderation, and especially in a competitive setting. But in a friendship, usually you only want a healthy amount of competition and not so much competition that it becomes a damn esports lobby. I prefer casual friendship over ranked competitive friendship. Disregarding boundaries or being super needy. Sort of like I guess like a weird dog, I don't know. Like someone who talks too much, who asks for favors constantly, who asks for money constantly. Doesn't mean they're doing it on purpose. Maybe they just need to think about other people's needs more alongside their own. In my experience also, if you're someone who can't say no to people when they ask for stuff, like you might find yourself getting taken advantage of because, you know, it's a bad combination. Someone who asks for too much and someone who can't ever say no. 5, I think we're on point 5. Lack of care and effort. Remember when I said that friendship is like a group project? Well, if you don't actively participate or you just wait for other people to be the ones to reach out, obviously the friendship is gonna die. Reciprocation needs to happen for a friendship to happen. Similarly, if someone constantly sends money to their favorite VTuber, it does not make it a real relationship because they're not reciprocating. Sorry, buddy. Okay, that was a lot of bad juju. Okay, let's take a deep breath. I want to briefly touch on something. You are not Dr. Phil, probably, and you cannot read minds, probably. So do not start witch hunting, okay? Do not start psychoanalyzing all of your friends like a lunatic and pointing fingers. Do not start seeing negative signs and making assumptions when there are none, okay? Based on if you actually plan to use any of this advice I'm giving. Don't suddenly turn into someone who is critically judgmental of all the people around you just because you saw a Taco Balls video, okay? These videos are dog shit. You should not be leaning on these to have a competent social life. I'm just saying, something to keep in mind. All right, now, how do you be a good person to other people? It's just like other many positive and productive things. It's a small handful of mantras and pillars that you just need to put into practice. First one is be kind and selfless. I know that, like, if you went to an American school, especially, I have like Vietnam flashbacks of being called to an assembly and then being lectured for 50 minutes about why being kind is good. And yes, it is good, but you know, to a certain point, I feel like this message has become desaturated over time. My point is, true kindness does not equate to cringe, okay? And you should also be kind because it's right and not because people are looking or because you feel obligated to. And you know, again, back to reciprocation, if you're kind to people, they'll be kind to you back. That's just how it works. Alongside this point, it's also important to make sure that your friendships have a confirming climate as opposed to a disconfirming climate. Basically, it just means talk to your friends in a way that makes them feel appreciated. Point number 2. Avoid lying. Honesty is always appreciated by people with open minds. Honesty fosters trust and can lead to deeper friendships. Honesty can lead to positive growth. And again, generally, honesty is a lot easier than lying. Point number 3, be open-minded and have empathy. Be supportive if a friend is voicing an issue they're dealing with, or if they want to talk about a flaw they're dealing with, whatever it is. Be open-minded, be a good listener, don't be judgmental. And you know, your friends are gonna have flaws. This does not make them bad friends. Nobody is perfect unless you're Ryan Reynolds or 2B. You are not perfect, and neither is your friend. Unless your friend is Ryan Reynolds or 2B. Lucky bastard. Point number 5. Be considerate. Friendship is reciprocal, again, but there are also limits with different people about how much you should reciprocate. Don't ask for too much. Don't give too much. Think about your friends' feelings as well as your own. And, you know, just in general, learn how to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Just whenever you do anything, think about what the other person is. Point number 6, be dependable and want the best for your friends. Now, this is important. Wanting the best for someone does not mean controlling them. You know, just let them know that you want them to grow and succeed. Strive to be a pillar of support. Don't police your friends, because in the end, that's not your primary role as a friend. Okay, I hope you've gleaned something useful from this video. I hope that you now want to be a better person for the other humans around you. Do me a favor and glaze the algorithm for me. Press all the shit down there. Look at them. They're aching for you to click them. Leave a comment if you have some thoughts. I always have thoughts. And have a good day.